This is Truthful Manipulation, where truth is the truth and reality is made real and clear to understand. I'm Dave Kelsey, and I'm here today with my co-host, H. Daniel Mujahid. On this week's episode of Truthful Manipulation, we thought we would just have a conversation about shows that we've done over the past year and just talk about what we've seen and, in the end, hopefully what our hopes are for the future. But Daniel, what would you like to chat about for this from this last year?
I think that 2025 was a very significant signal to the human being's mind and heart that we have to rethink some of the terms and conditions that we decided to interact as Americans, and also the conditions that led us to question each other as to who is the legitimate American, who is real, who isn't, who has the concept right about life and who doesn't. I think that we have to re-examine what we were taught and what we learned in our life experiences, because going forward, we certainly do have a need to have a better understanding of the things that are greater, which are the things that we should be agreeing upon.
Well, Daniel,
and so I think that basis, yes.
One of the things that I saw over the course of 2025 was the dehumanization of different groups. And I happened to be watching this movie the other day. It was about the Nuremberg trials. Have you ever seen that movie, Daniel?
Yes.
Anyways, they were going on, and it started out then about the dehumanization of different segments of the population. And in that particular time, it happened to be Jews, but we seem to be doing the same thing, or our government is doing this. I don't believe that the people believe this way, but our government has dehumanized immigrants. And that's something that should bother all normal American citizens, because for the most part, the people that want to do the demonizing all are at least first, second, or third generation immigrants in themselves. So we're back to that rules for thee and not for me, and this group's better than that group. We have to be better than that going into 2026. We looked at a lot of different things along the way. We looked at how the Constitution is supposed to work and how it didn't work over the last 12 months. Have you seen things that we've talked about other than that, Daniel? I mean, you'll spark my imagination as we go along, I'm sure.
The Constitution itself is a word. Constitution, what constitute, what you're made of. What is the fabric that holds you together? What is it that you share in common? To be constituted calls for a type of unity that is structured in logic. So when we say the American society has its own constitution, it has to be understood. And what we have seen in America today is that there have been many initiatives undertaken to what we call undermine or supplant or change or violate the Constitution. And those grounds, seemingly given under the guise of being to make things better, have been designed by plotters and schemers And interesting that you would mention the Nuremberg, because in the same case, there was the importance to find a group that you can cause to divide your spirit and thinking about people. Well, if you're separated from people and you don't interact with them, it's easy for someone to cleverly quote a story that gives you the wrong impression, so that when you do interact with that group, you are already being led by a false narrative. And in this society, America has come, we've evolved to the place where there have been no greater narratives of falsehoods in the history of man. Now, maybe some can equal, but you cannot top the type of leadership false narrative that has been spun across all groups. And look at the chaos and the conflict that we have now, just trying to decide what an American is.
Just trying to decide what an American is, but always looking for something else. What we have now is we have retribution and incompetence. You have someone who is hell-bent on wanting to impact retribution on his perceived enemies that aren't really his enemies. They're only perceived to him, because the things that he was charged with, he was guilty of, but his perceived enemies, but he surrounded himself with incompetence. Incompetence at every level. Incompetence to the point where America, I believe, is stunned. But hopefully in 2026, America will recognize that this isn't what true America looks like. True America isn't about grifting from other countries. True America isn't about our government taking interests in private business. True America isn't allowing whoever's in our highest office to abuse the power that they're given against the very people that put them there.
Yes, Dave, and one of our more recent podcasts, you did an interesting thing when you challenged Chat GPT if it were the designer of American activity in politics today, and you were the devil. Chat was the devil. What it would do, and what it came back with was what they called what we have termed as the Playbook 2025, the Devil's Playbook, and it was amazingly in line, parallel to the aspects of what was called Proposal 2025. Therefore, because of that, that's not coincidental. I think that is a sign, Dave, that what you're talking about here now is when we say that there have been a emphasis on getting incompetent people in positions of authority, that is part of the playbook itself, so that the appearance to Americans is that these people are incompetent. But when we look further underneath the skirt of what they're doing, we see that it's not necessarily just incompetence, but what is being hidden by the incompetence is the greed, the corruption, and the hatred of anybody that is not what you are.
It was
I differ with you in an opinion.
It
Yes.
was called the Devil's Playbook 2025.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
funny that you
Yes.
said that, because yesterday I did this. I said to Chat GPT, you're going to love this one. If you were Jesus Christ in today's society, what would you do to restore integrity, morals, and ethics? And guess what it came back with?
I can't wait to hear this.
Number one, lead with radical consistency. Say what's true. Do what's right, even when it costs something.
Wow.
Number two, Put people
Mhm.
before performance and image. Treat the overlooked with dignity. The poor, the lonely, the stigmatized, the exhausted, the unprofitable.
Mm. My. What an indignation against the creed of this federal administration that we live with now, and we have been complicit, and we found reasons to be complicit, and we have a window. We don't know how long that window will be open, but this is the time now, America, for us to make a difference in terms of silence or speaking truth to evil, to wickedness, to greed, to corruption.
Guess
And
what
this
number?
has many impacts.
Guess what
Go ahead,
number?
Dave.
Hold on. Guess what number 3 is?
Okay.
Tell the truth about hypocrisy without becoming hateful. Challenge religious, political, and corporate leaders when they exploit people, lie, or enrich themselves at others' expense.
Now, these comments and these jewels that you're laying out for us, is it dependent on what we call a critical mass, Dave? In other words, if I don't have a big, no King's Day kind of support for it, and I'm just an individual in a small community, can I make a difference from that perspective, or is there a need for us to find ways to group?
Came back, and the first thing it said before it went into the numbered stuff was, if Jesus were walking around in today's society trying to restore integrity, morals, and ethics, I don't think he'd start by winning arguments. He'd start by rebuilding trust, person by person, and then push the trust outward into families, workplaces, and institutions. So if your question is, can you make a difference? The answer to that is yes. You can make a difference person by person. Start one
Hmm.
person at a time. That's how it starts and becomes a movement.
Yes. Now, I want to say to our audience for clarity, just for perspective, looking at history and looking at the role the males played in messing things up, let's say, not necessarily the men. As you know, in our earlier discussions, we said we made a distinction between man, which means mind, and males, which is dealing with the flesh and the activities, of society. So noticing that Dave is using the language Jesus when he refers to a point of perspective that shows you a greater understanding of life. Always remember, when you hear Jesus, you automatically
No,
are hearing Adam.
hold,
Let me finish this, Dave. Let me
okay,
finish this,
go
Dave.
ahead.
You're automatically hearing Abraham. You're automatically hearing Muhammad. You're automatically hearing Mother. Leadership is what Jesus represents. Wholesome leadership. And what was it that the God had in mind when he imaged what a human being would be? And this is what we have in common that we fail to recognize. Dave?
Well, yeah, you took it in that direction, so I just happened to ask ChatGPT this question. If you were Muhammad in today's society, what would you do to restore integrity, morals, and ethics? And guess what it came back
Mm,
with?
I'd like to hear this. Uh-huh.
Rebuild truth through Amana,
Yes.
AMANA,
Yes.
trustworthiness, keep
Yes.
promises, honor
Yes.
contracts, pay debts, and stop fine
Yes.
print exploitation.
Yes.
Number 2, make justice non-negotiable.
Yes.
ADL, that's
I don't.
right.
Oh, this is talking about the thinking, the human beings, the ability
Okay.
to use your brain to
I
rationalize, understand, using logic. Yes.
push back on
Mm,
corruption, favoritism, bribery, and rules for thee and not for me. Well, that stole a lot.
mhm,
That stole that from me.
mhm.
Clean up speech and end backbiting and rumor culture. Treat
Mm-hmm.
gossip, smear campaigns, and pylons as moral pollution. I
Mm-hmm.
can't pronounce that word. Put mercy
Mm-hmm.
and decency at the center. Rama. Teach restraint.
This is mercy. This is the idea, and this is shared. The people of faith, all of them, they share this idea. Rahman is the mercy. We realize that the things that happen in our life, they come from a mercy. Now, some may not identify what that source of mercy is. Some may say it's nothingness, but the fact that it is consistent, one and the same, and that it is comprehensive means that it has an intelligence to it, and that mercy is what the human being needs to go forward. Yes, this is very good. Go right ahead, Dave.
Well, now I'm jumping back to the Christianity one now. Number 4, it says
Yeah.
rebuild integrity through small micro covenants. No lying, no
Yes.
gossip, no scapegoating. Keep your promises, pay fairly, own your part, protect the vulnerable, and forgive but don't enable. Integrity
Notice
grows.
how this even sounds, audience. Notice
Hold
how what
on.
he's saying.
Hold
Okay,
on.
go ahead.
Integrity
Mhm.
grows when ordinary people become predictable in goodness. Now, hold on a second. We got to jump down here. And now I'm going to what it said about Muhammad under that. It says, build ethical micro habits that spread fast, simple rules that transform workplaces, home, and online behavior. No lying, no cheating, no exploitation, no gossip. Keep promises, be fair when angry, help quietly, and make amends quickly. Do those not all sound pretty much the same?
Well, that's why I wanted to. My sense of urgency was because you hit on another point, and I was trying to get to that. And I'll do it now. Let's not leave the Hebrew Jewish impact of Scripture out of this. And this is important to realize that when you say Musa or Moses, you're going to hear the same kinds of. If you chat, will have the same answers for what he would do. But also, what's really amazing that we overlook is if you say to chat, what would mother do? Mother would do what Jesus, what Moses, what Muhammad would do, what Abraham would do. So we have to see the relationship of mother and leadership so that we quit denigrating and thinking that women bring the evil. No, they bring the leadership, but they teach. They grow, they nurture the leadership. They don't have to go out front to be the leader. The community is benefited from mothers being what mothers do. And we all have that in common. Say, well, I didn't have a mother. Well, someone mothered you, someone nurtured you, you see. So go right ahead, Dave.
Well, it's funny that you say that because as I was a kid growing up in the evangelical Christian church, women were never allowed to have any position of real authority,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
they always were the ones that were allowed to teach the children. Now think about this. When children are at their most formative years, the evangelical Christian church said the males were above teaching them, so they allowed females to do that job basically because no male at that time wanted to deal with the children. So they may, once again, religion was manipulated to serve the purpose of those that were in charge. And this wasn't just across the church I was in. This was across pretty much every evangelical institution that there was. There never were women that were allowed in position of power, but yet they were forming our children's viewpoints as mother, like you said, Daniel. Is that what you saw in religion too?
Yes, and as a student of religions, studying them, I find the common threads, and they reveal the oneness, And when you speak about, for example, Moses' 10 Commandments, and you speak about the spirit of them, and you look at the ethical and the moral and the concepts of integrity and what you do, how you treat your neighbor, how you treat the ones you know and don't know, the orphan, etc., the rich, the poor. It's speaking to human beings, not to ethnicities. And the thing that the scripture that we fail to realize is that it's addressing what we have as human life, not as African American life or Chinese life or African life. The humanity, the different hues of man are all part of the family of options. And each has its own respectful contribution that we should respect and uphold, not find ways to try to bring it as it's evil or ugly or indecent. And this is where we have done ourselves a great crime, the crimes that we've done against our own selves.
Daniel, I think as we go into 2026, as this is New Year's Eve, we know what's happened over the last year, and we know there are a lot of people out there that thought that they were going to get something that didn't get what they thought that they were going to get. There were a lot of people that did get ahead in some ways, but left many, many, many more behind. So what we call on all people, not just in America, but around the world, it's time to put this nonsense behind us. It's time to treat people with dignity and respect, no matter what their situation is. They're human beings. Just because you may be part of the 925 billionaires that live in the U.S., that doesn't give you the right to treat the other 250 million people like they're inferior to you. If you spread some of that wealth around, you might find that the world would be a better place. And I still believe that karma will come back and bite every single one of these guys, dehumanized people over the course of the last 12 months, because that's not American and that's not what the worldview should be.
Now, on this point here for our audience, in the scriptures, especially the scriptures that came before the Quran, and the Quran is scripture as well, but in the earlier scriptures, which you call the Torah, the Pentateuch, whatever, this idea, this story, I think God is using the story of the wife of a prophet being turned into a pillar of salt, because remember, what we're saying is that mother is responsible for society. And I think the challenge that Dave is giving us is that for 2026 human beings, we should put behind us those evils, those ignorant, those hatreds that kept us from seeing ourselves as being fellow human beings. And we should put it behind us. And when we put it behind us, let's never look back. Let's go forward, America.
And that is this week's episode of Truthful Manipulation. If you have comments on this week's show or any of the previous 52-week show, please get a hold of us at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. Pick up a copy of our book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By, or get a hold of us about our 2-day seminar. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at truthfulmanipulation.com. We hope you have a very, very happy new year, and thank you for listening.
Happy New Year.